subscribe and click the bell icon to turn on notifications.
Now, the first thing I'm going to go through with you is how you can download and install Windows 11, because it can be a little bit confusing if you're not sure. And also, there are some caveats when it comes down to downloading Windows 11. Not everybody can download it. So I'm going to show you what your system requirements need to be before you can download and install it. Once you've got it installed, we're then going to run through some of the main changes. We're going to take a look at the taskbar and the start menu. I'm going to show you how you can pin items. We're going to take a look at how you can personalize the desktop. There's some really fancy, nice new desktop backgrounds that you can add. I'm going to show you where all of those are. We're going to take a look at using search because there's some differences there. And also this feature called multiple desktops, which is really cool. We're going to move on to taking a look at widgets and snap layouts, and also some things related to settings, such as quick settings. There's also been quite a few changes made to the Microsoft Store, so I'll run through some of those with you. And then right at the end, we'll take a look at some of the newer inbuilt applications, so things like Teams and other applications that come along with Windows 11. And of course, as we go through, I'm going to be showing you some new keyboard shortcuts that are available in Windows 11 as well, just to make your life a little bit easier. And I'll point out all of the UI changes as we go through as well. So the first thing we're going to start with is how you can download and install Windows 11. Now, Windows 11 is available as a free update to Windows 10 users. So if you already have Windows 10, you are eligible for a free upgrade to Windows 11. But, and this is the big but, there is a caveat with this, and that is that you have to have a compatible system. And this has been a little bit of a sore point for many people running Windows 10 who haven't been able to upgrade to Windows 11 because their PC doesn't meet the spec requirements. I was having a little read yesterday actually, and Microsoft have mentioned they might change this further down the line so that Windows 11 is available to more users. But at this first release, this early stage, then you need to make sure you have a compatible PC. So what exactly are the requirements for Windows 11? Well, let's take a look at them. You need to have 1 gigahertz of CPU, at least 4 gig of RAM, and 64 gig of storage. Now, most newer laptops and PCs, this will be absolutely fine. If you have a slightly older machine, then you're probably going to want to check what you're running before you try and download Windows 11. I will say, if you try and download it, it's not going to allow you to if you don't have a PC that meets those requirements. But let's just have a quick look at how you can check that information. I'm going to come out of here. Now, obviously, I am using Windows 11. So where you go to find this, if you're using Windows 10, I think it's roughly the same. So I'm going to go to search. And you really just need to find your system settings or system information. So I'm just going to type in system information and pull that up. Find this screen on your current system. It's normally called system information, and this is where you're going to be able to see exactly what it is that you're running. So you want to look at the processor, and also a bit further down, you're going to have things like your physical memory, things like that. So go through and check to make sure you have the correct spec. If you do, then you can go and download Windows 11. Now, Windows 11 is available as a free update. So the first place to check is to see if it's been delivered to your PC yet. Obviously, with these things, it's a rollout, so people generally tend to receive the update at different times. So once again, you're going to need to go into your settings wherever you find your Windows updates. So for me, if I just type in Windows Update Settings, there it is. You'll find it in settings somewhere. This is where you want to be. Check for updates, click that button, and you may see it sitting there. If you do, you can simply click the install button to install Windows 11. Now, if you're impatient and you don't have the update yet, but you do want to install it, you can manually download it from the Microsoft website as well. So this is a fairly simple case of going into your preferred web browser. So let's just use an Edge web browser. Why not? And I'm going to type in download Windows 11. And that should take me to, you want to make sure you have the Microsoft link, which is going to be this one just here. and it's going to take you through to the website, and you can download the installation assistant, which is going to help you download Windows 11. And the installation assistant is pretty much like a wizard. It's going to walk you through the process. Okay, so those are the two ways that you can get hold of it. Check to see if you've got the update and install that way, or alternatively, use the installation assistant to download it now. So with all of that said, once you've downloaded it, installed it, let's take a quick look at some of the main changes. Now, the most obvious change that you're probably going to see is with the taskbar at the bottom. Notice now it used to be over on the left-hand side. Now everything is centered. And if I click on the Start button just here, which is the Windows key, this is going to pop up, and this looks a lot different to what it did in Windows 10. If you remember, in Windows 10, we had things like live tiles that we could use. I never really got along with those. I never used the live tiles. I just found they got in the way. This is a lot cleaner. It has much more of an Android phone appearance, and a lot of the icons in Windows 11 have also been modernized and updated. Now notice that this is also centered. So we have a centered taskbar and we have a centered start menu. Remember, the keyboard shortcut, if you want to pull up that start menu, you can just press the Windows key on your keyboard and that's going to pop that up. Also notice with all of your windows that you open now, you have a nice little rounded corner effect. So again, very small visual changes which add to a much sleeker looking UI. Now, what do we have in this start menu now? Well, at the top here, we have pinned applications, and by default, you're going to have a few pinned up here. So this just makes it super quick for you to access things that you use frequently. Underneath that, I have some recommended items. So these are normally things that I've opened previously. Again, just a quick way of getting to them. If you want to see a full list of all of the applications that you have on your PC, you have an All Apps button at the top, and it's going to list all of your applications in alphabetical order. So it's going to be a lot easier for you to find these things. Now, if you want to pin any of these, so as I said, when you go back to the Start menu by clicking the back button, I have lots of things pinned up here. I can pin any application to this Start area or in the taskbar at the bottom. It's a simple case of going across to All Apps, and let's just grab something. I'm going to grab Adobe Lightroom, right-click on the application, and you'll have a Pin to Start option. Or if you hover over More, you can pin it to the taskbar. So I'm going to Pin to Start. And then when I go back, I'll probably find that at the bottom of the list. There it is, just there. And you can rearrange these and obviously delete ones that you don't want. So I can right click on anything in here and I can unpin them from Start as well. I can move these, so I can click and I can drag up to the top and drop that wherever I want it to be. So I would recommend you go in and you set this up with all of your apps that you use frequently, pin them, move them around, get them into a nice order. Then right at the bottom of this Start pop-up, we have our power options. So if I click this button just here, I can choose Sleep, Shutdown, or Restart. So that is where those live just now. And then over on the left-hand side, if you have multiple accounts, you can switch to any different accounts that you have, or you can lock your PC, sign out, or change your account settings. So a slightly different look and feel to that entire Start area. So now that we've got our head around that, which is probably the biggest overall visual change, let's start to take a look at some of the changes that have occurred with the actual desktop. Now, the most obvious thing you can see here is that I have a really nice high resolution background. And this is one of the backgrounds that comes with Windows 11. And there's about 6 or 7 that come with Windows 11, and they're all really, really nice. So if you want to personalize, all you need to do is right-click on your desktop background. Notice that this little right-click menu is also taking on that same look and feel. We have those rounded corners, and this just in general looks a lot more modern than the old-style right-click menu. Now from here, we can go to Personalize, and that is going to jump us into Windows Settings, into the Personalization area. Now, I'm going to talk more about settings a bit later on because they really have changed this and made this a lot easier to use than in Windows 10. But for now, let's just take a look at how we can personalize these backgrounds. So you can see the one that I have selected, and then we have all of these themes at the top here, and they're all really high quality, really nice backgrounds, and they all come with their own theme. So some of these will give you a dark theme, some of them will give you a light theme. So if I was to switch to this one here, Windows Dark theme, and if I click it, sometimes takes a few seconds for it to load up, you can see that now I've got a dark theme applied and a completely different background. If I select this one just here, Glow, this is also quite nice. That's also going to give me a dark background. And some of these other ones have much lighter backgrounds. So this is all really down to personal preference, whether you prefer a dark or a light background. So really nice. Now, of course, all of these can be personalized further. You have your colors in here and themes. So if you want to change any of the accent colors that you're using, you can do that from here as well. So all new background themes. Go through, choose which one you want. If you don't like any of them, you can still use your own images. All right, let's close out of here for now. The next thing I want to show you is a slight change to the right-click menus. Now, this is consistent whenever you right-click. I'm just going to right-click on this folder that I have on the desktop, because now we have this new right-click menu. Now, as I said, it does look a little bit different to the old one. The biggest change, and I tell you, this is one of the things, it took me ages to work this out when I first downloaded Windows 11, and I don't know why. I was looking desperately for the rename option in here. And I thought, where has it gone? Where have they moved it to? It's up here. We now have these icons running across the top. So if you want to cut, it's up there. We've got copy up there. We have rename, we have share, and we also have delete. So they've effectively removed those from the right-click menu, and those are now icons. And I just couldn't see those for the first week or so. So I'm very happy that I've now discovered those. So don't forget that. That is a change from Windows 10. Now, if you just can't get on with these menus and you want your old menus back, the old menus are still there. If you go down to show more options, you're going to get that old style menu. So that kind of gives you a good comparison as to what it looks like in Windows 10 and what the new menu looks like. The overall thing they're going for here is just to make things a lot slicker, a lot easier to use, and keep these menus not quite as long. Okay, so just remember that. That's going to come up whenever you right click. All right, what else do we have that's new in here? Well, if I go down to my taskbar at the bottom, this second icon that we have across here is the search button. And we did have one of these in Windows 10. I think it was pretty similar. See, I'm struggling to remember now what Windows 10 was like, even though it was only 6 weeks ago. But I think it was pretty similar. This is your universal search. And from here, you can basically search across everything. So you can search across your apps, your documents, the internet. We even have other things you can search through: email, folders, music, people, so on and so forth. Now I have all selected. So if I was to type in, let's just type in Excel, it's going to go through and search through all of these different things. So it's found the Excel application. And then I can also see that there are 8+ documents on this PC, which I can then click on to find all the documents which have Excel in the title. So this really is great for finding anything, and that's not just documents. If you're looking for a system setting, so maybe you want to, I don't know, adjust the brightness on your PC and you don't know where to go for that, you could type in something like brightness and it's going to give you the best match just here. You can click on it to jump straight into settings where you can go in and change that brightness. So universal search is really, really good. Let's close that down and move across to the next icon on this taskbar, and that is the ability to have multiple desktops. So this is great if you're somebody who always works with lots of windows open, and I am one of those people. I always have about 50 different windows open, and I work on a laptop as well, so things can get very kind of crowded and a bit crazy. What I can do now is I can split up my applications across multiple desktops. So I'm not just restricted to one. So I have desktop one. Ooh, let's bring that up again. Desktop one just here, which is one I'm currently clicked on. But if I want to add another one, I can click on new desktop and it gives me desktop 2. Now, desktop 2, I can change the background theme independent of the other one. I can have my own applications on here. I can have different windows open on here as well, and then effectively switch between the different desktops that I'm using. So this is kind of similar to having, multiple physical monitors, except these are effectively virtual monitors. And you can even go as far as to name these different things as well. So I could double click and I could name desktop 1. Oh, sorry, it keeps going away. All gone a bit crazy. Hang on. Let's go back here. Oh my goodness. Double click, that's it. So I could name this Microsoft, whatever I want to name it. And I have all my Microsoft applications on this particular desktop, so on and so forth. So your multiple desktops are a really great way of organizing lots of different windows. Now, another thing that we have down here is widgets. Now, I can't remember if we had widgets in Windows 10. I don't think we did. We have had them in previous versions of Windows, maybe before Windows 10. They kind of disappeared for a while, but now Microsoft have brought these back. Now, a keyboard shortcut for quickly opening up widgets is Windows key W. That's going to open up your widgets pane. It's going to slide in from the left-hand side. Note that if you are using a touchscreen device, you can pull up this pane simply by sliding your finger from left to right. That will pull across this widgets pane. And what this widgets pane does is it basically gives you at-a-glance access to information that's going to be useful to you. So things like the weather, you can get traffic reports, you can see the latest stock prices, things like that. And of course, this whole panel is customizable. What you also have at the bottom is the top news stories as well. So you have a news feed and then customizable widgets above. So if I want to add more widgets, I can click the Add Widgets button, and then I have a few different ones that I can add. And there's not too many in here at the moment. Microsoft said that they are going to be adding more as time goes on, but at the moment we kind of have the basic ones. So I can choose to add a to-do list. I can maybe add a traffic report just by clicking that plus button. When I close that down, I now have these added, and I can then choose the size of these widgets. So if I click the 3 dots in the corner, currently this is set to medium size. I could make that a smaller widget, or I can make the widget a bit larger if I want to, and really sort of customize how these look. I can also drag them around and reposition them. So tailor this so that it suits you and how you like to work and the information that you're interested to see. Okay, so that is widgets. To get rid of this pane, you can of course press the Windows key W key again to get rid of it, or you can simply click on the widgets icon in the taskbar. Now, one thing you might notice with mine is that when I am not using that taskbar, it hides itself, it disappears off the screen. It doesn't reappear until I drag my mouse down to the bottom, so when I want to click on something effectively. Now, this is just a setting that I have set up simply because I record a lot of videos, and a lot of the time I don't want to have this taskbar showing in the video. So I've got it set to hide itself whenever I'm not using it. Now, I just thought I'd point this out as a little side note in case this is something that you want to do as well. You can right-click on the taskbar and simply go to Taskbar Settings. So again, this is going to jump us across to our new settings. And if we scroll down to the bottom, we have Taskbar Behaviors. And it's this little option here, automatically hide the taskbar. So if you want to hide it, make sure you have a tick. I'm actually going to untick mine because in this webinar, I'm finding it a bit annoying that it keeps disappearing. So now I've unticked that, I'm going to close down and my taskbar is there permanently. Now, something else that's new for Windows 11 is Snap Layouts. Now, to demonstrate this, I'm going to open up a Microsoft Edge window. Now, you might be aware that in Windows 10, we can snap our windows to different parts of the screen, and that still works in Windows 11. So what I can do is with this window, I can pick it up, I can drag it all the way over to the left-hand side, and I can snap it to the left-hand side of the screen. I can pick it up and I can drag it over to the right, and I can do exactly the same. If I want to drag it to the corner of the screen, I can kind of drag it up to the corner, let go, and it's going to place it just there. Or alternatively, I can just drag it up to the top to make it full screen. Now, all of those were available in Windows 10, but we now have in Windows 11 some additional snap layouts. Now, you can get to these simply, in one of two ways I should say, simply by hovering your mouse over the maximize button in the top corner of the window. And notice I have 4 different types of layout. Another way you can pull this little snap layouts up on any window that you're using is to use Windows key Z, and that's going to pull those snap layouts up as well. So now you can choose where you want to place your windows. So maybe I want to place this one in half of the screen. And then if I've got something else open, let's just open up Excel. I can hover over and I want to place this in the top corner, and then I can fill the bottom corner with something else. Okay, so you have additional snap layout options, which is quite nice. I find myself using these all the time. I tend to drag, but it is good to know that we have those additional ones now as well. Now, let's move on to File Explorer. Now, I will say there isn't too many changes with this. Let's just quickly open it up. I've got mine pinned down in the taskbar. And if we go to this PC, now there are some cosmetic changes, some visual changes in here. Again, our windows have this nice rounded corner effect. We have some updated icons. Now, I was actually very pleased to see this because in previous versions, all of the folders were the same color. They were that yellow color. Now they've made each type of folder a different color just to make it a bit visually easier to see them. A couple of other changes that we have in here are we have a simplified menu, so running across the top. We have simplified menu options. So again, we have our cut, our copy, our paste, our rename. All of those options are up there. This is going to be a bit easier to see if I actually click on something. So let's go to a folder and select a file. That's going to make these active. So that's where your rename, your cut, your copy, your share, all of those live now. The rest of the options in here are pretty much the same as in Windows 10. We can still sort our files. We can change how we're viewing our files, whether we're seeing a list or thumbnails or things like that. And of course, whenever you have these little 3 dots, that's going to show you more options, so more things you can do. And of course, all of these menus have that new sleek layout. Now, one thing, again, another thing that really confused me when I first started using Windows 11 was I tend to have multiple File Explorer windows open at the same time. And the way that I used to do this in Windows 10 was I would open one of them and then I would go to File, New Window. But now we don't have that option up here. We have new, but this is just going to give us a new folder, a new shortcut, or we can create new documents directly from here as well. So this is another new little feature. If I want to create a brand new Word document, I don't have to open Word. If I've got File Explorer open, I can just select Microsoft Word document, Excel, Access, whatever it is from here. Okay. Now, just going back to that point of opening multiple File Explorer windows, the only way I've found of doing this is to go back down to the taskbar, right-click my mouse, and then I've got File Explorer just here. So when I click it, it's going to open up a new window. Now, I don't know if any of you guys are already using Windows 11 and you know an easier way to do this. Maybe there's a shortcut key that I haven't discovered yet. But so far in all my playing around, that's the only way I've found to open multiple File Explorer windows. I don't like that. That's one of the things I don't like about Windows 11. I'm hoping that's going to become a lot easier. But just be aware of that. Right-click on File Explorer to open up a second window. All right, let's close both of those down. Now, we touched on this earlier. We've been into settings a couple of times, and settings is really undergone quite a bit of an overhaul. So let's jump in and take a look at it. Now, the easiest way to do this is you can either open up your application list and click on settings from here, or you can use your search bar to search for settings simply by typing it in the search at the top. Now, if we click on settings, this is our new settings area. And I really like the way that they've designed this. I find it a lot easier to use than the settings in Windows 10. We now have all of our categories down the left-hand side, and things are a lot more consistent than they were. So for example, I'm currently clicked on System, and now I have all of my different subcategories related to System. So I can go into Display, and this all looks very consistent across every single category. So I can come in here to adjust my brightness, to turn on my night light, to change my resolution, things like that. Now, to get back, I have my breadcrumb trail at the top here. So we have System and then Display. So I can click on System just to go back a level, or we have a back arrow at the top here. So pretty easy to navigate around. We'll also find things in here like notifications if you want to set up what you're going to receive notifications for. And in Windows 11, you'll see a lot of things now have these little toggle sliders. And I really like these. If you use an iPhone, I'm not sure about Android, I have an iPhone. We're very used to using toggles to turn settings off and on. And that's kind of what they've brought in to Windows 11. And this makes it very straightforward. If I don't want to receive any notifications, I just toggle all notifications off. If I want to receive them, I toggle it back on. I can click on it to see any other options. So these toggles are a really great way of working. If I want to connect up Bluetooth or any devices that I have a category for that. And you can see that I have my headphones paired with this device. So if you want to set up printers, Bluetooth devices, your phone, cameras, your mouse and touchpad settings, all of that is going to be under Bluetooth and devices. Network and internet, this is where you can come to set up your what network you're using, VPN, mobile hotspots. We've seen what we can do in personalization. This is how you can customize your Windows 11 setup. So change things like the themes, the background, the start menu. So we have a few customization options for that start menu as well. Pretty much everything can be customized. Now, I'm not going to go through all of these because I think you get the idea, but a lot easier to find now in Windows 11. Of course, if worst comes to worst, you do also have find a setting at the top here. You can just type in what it is that you're looking for and it will jump you straight to the correct area. Okay, so I love this new revised settings area. Oh, and before we leave here, the final thing to point out is right at the bottom, Windows Update. So this is where you're going to come to see any updates that are sitting, waiting for you to install. So very important to keep on top of those. Now, I will say that Microsoft do release their own updates occasionally. It used to be, I think they used to release an update every 6 months. That's now changed for Windows 11. They're only going to be releasing one update a year. So you'll see that when it comes in and you can download it from here. So just a few sort of important things to point out from within settings. So let's jump out of there. What else do we have? Well, let's go down to our taskbar over right in the bottom corner where we have the date and time. Now, if we click on the date and time, this is going to open up our notification panel. So you can see at the top here, any notifications that you've set to come in. So I've got a new mail notification from Look Fantastic. Of course, a clothes shop. I'm on every single shopping mailing list. So I've got a new notification come in there. And of course, you can customize within settings what notifications you see in this notifications panel. Underneath that, we have the full version of our calendar. Super useful if you're if you just want to quickly see a calendar without having to go in and open up the calendar within your mail. And if you want to customize anything with these, for example, if I want to customize these notifications, I can right click at the top here and it's going to jump me straight to my notification settings in that settings area. So if I click go to notification settings, it's going to jump us back into that area where we just were. And I can come in and I can customize which applications I want to receive messages from. So if I'm getting too many notifications from my mail, I could choose to turn off notifications for mail simply by using that toggle slider. So I would definitely recommend going in and customizing that to suit your needs. Now, the other thing that we have down here in this taskbar area are quick settings. And you'll find this if you click on these next three set of icons. So where I have my Wi-Fi and my volume and my battery, this is kind of a group of three. If you click on them, then it's going to open up your quick settings panel. Now, if you forget to do that, there is a keyboard shortcut for this as well, which is Windows key A. Windows key A again to get rid of it. And I don't think I mentioned the keyboard shortcut for that notifications panel either. If you want to pull up that notifications panel, Windows key N is going to do that for you. Windows key N again. So your quick settings down here, this is just basically a quick way to toggle off and on settings that you're going to use frequently. So quite often people want to adjust their volume. You have your volume slider in here. You also have your screen brightness available in here, so you don't have to go in and find it in settings. You can do it from here. I can toggle off or on my Wi-Fi or flight mode or Bluetooth if I want to connect a device. And I can edit this little panel to show other settings as well. So right at the bottom, we have a little pencil icon. When I hover over, I can edit my quick settings. And I can click the add button if I want to add something else. So we just have a few in here that Microsoft has deemed useful to you, things that you might just quickly want to turn off and turn on. So go through and you can add whichever ones you like. So let me add nightlight just so you can see how it works. Click done. Now I have this little nightlight toggle, which I can click toggle off and on. I can also rearrange these. So again, if I go back into edit mode, I can rearrange these simply by dragging and dropping. Okay. Remember, every time you see a little cog icon, that's going to take you into that settings area where you're going to find more options related to whatever it is that you were clicked on. Okay. So really nice and simple. Now, what else do we have? We have Microsoft Teams has been built into Windows 11. So if you are a Teams user currently, this is a really nice little thing. So when you install Windows 11, if you take a look down in your taskbar, you're going to have your Microsoft Teams just here, and it comes under the heading of just chat. Now, I will say this is really dependent on what you're logged into your PC as. So when I'm working, I use my work account and I log into Teams. Currently on this PC, I'm logged into my personal account. So all of the contacts that I see are going to be my personal contacts. So just bear that in mind. This is very much related to whatever email address you're using when you log into your PC. So we can click to open chat. Alternatively, there is a keyboard shortcut to quickly switch into this Teams chat of Windows key C. And I think this is having an issue because I turned off my internet earlier and it hasn't refreshed because I haven't rebooted my PC. Well, what you're going to see in here is basically what you would expect if you were to open Teams. You're going to see a list of all of your contacts. You can double click on them to chat with them. You can start meetings with them. Pretty much the same functionality that you have in Teams. So that's now been built into Windows 11. Another really great feature. Now, a lot of the changes that have been made have come with the Microsoft Store. Now, I don't know if you download apps fairly often from the store. I tend to download more apps, I would say, on my phone than I do on my PC, but there have been times where I have downloaded apps. And the problem that I always had with the Microsoft Store was that it didn't have that many apps in it, or it never seemed to have the app that I wanted to download. And that is one of the big changes that has occurred with this Windows 11 update. You now have access to a lot more applications from within the Microsoft Store. So I'm going to press my Windows key to pull up my Start menu. And do I have my store in here? I do not. So let's go to All Apps, and I'm going to search for Microsoft Store. Now, I never know whether this is going to be under M. It is under M. There we go. And I'm going to pin that to the start so it's easy for me to access. So when we jump into the store, we now have access to a lot more applications, and this entire interface has been redesigned as well, so things are a lot easier to find. If we look over on the left hand side, we're currently on the home page, we can search for apps specifically, or if you're into gaming, you have a gaming section, or we have films and TV just here as well. So again, this really all depends on what it is that you want to download. Now with these apps, if they're free, you will see underneath it will say free, or you'll have a choice to purchase them, much like you would in any other store. Now, as I said, these are all divided down into categories, but what we now also have included in the store are Android applications. So for example, something like TikTok. Now, I'm a bit too old for TikTok, I have to say. It hasn't really caught on in my world, but I know a lot of people love TikTok, an Android app that is now available in the store. And Microsoft have made it a lot cheaper for companies to host their apps effectively in the Microsoft Store. So you're seeing more and more apps from lots and lots of different companies added every single day. So the store is now becoming a lot better than it was in previous versions of Windows. So definitely check out the Microsoft Store. Now, of course, along with Windows 11, we still get our inbuilt applications. And when I say inbuilt applications, I mean applications that come with Windows 11, as opposed to applications that you install yourself, either downloaded from a website or maybe from the store. So an example of an inbuilt application would be something like the calculator. So if I press my Windows key again, and do I have my calculator in here? Yes, I do. This is an example of an inbuilt application. If I open up the calculator, and I'm going to open up a couple of other apps as well. So let's go back and I'm going to search for, in fact, I'm going to type into search. Let's search for maps. This is another inbuilt application in Windows 11, and that is Maps. So there's quite a few of these. We have the Photos app as well. There's the Snipping Tool app, all of these different applications that come along with Windows 11. Now, again, all of these have a slight redesign. We have those rounded corners. Remember, each app isn't consistent with other apps. So what I mean by that is when you have different apps, the way you access things within each app doesn't tend to be consistent. For example, if I'm working in this Maps app, to see more options, I click the three dots. Whereas if I'm working in the calculator, if I want to see more options, I click the three lines. So you will find these kind of little things that are different between these applications. So look out for three lines, three dots in the corner. Every time you see a cog icon, that's going to take you to your settings. Now, one of the changes that they've made to these inbuilt applications is that you can choose what theme you use for each individual application. So previously in Windows 10, if you'd chosen to use a dark theme overall, when you opened your applications, all of your applications would be using that dark theme. Now you can choose what theme you want to use with each application. So I'm using a light theme at the moment, but maybe I want my Maps theme to be dark. I can click on the three dots and I can go into Settings. This takes me into Settings for Map. I can scroll down and I can choose to use a dark theme instead. And when I go back to it, that's going to change and it's not going to affect any of my other applications. So again, being able to modify the theme for individual apps is another change that they've made. As I said, a lot of these are visual changes just to make things a lot easier for you to use and just make the user interface a bit nicer. Let's close down both of these. Now, Microsoft Edge. I always find that most people don't tend to use Microsoft Edge as their browser. And I will say that I am quite guilty of this as well. My natural thing is to reach for Google Chrome every single time. Now, I'm trying to get into using Microsoft Edge. I don't know why I don't use it as much because it's is effectively pretty much the same as Google Chrome. It's just a slightly different browser. So if you've never used Microsoft Edge, it is worth having a little look around here because some things are really cool. Now, the one thing I would say to you that's quite good about this is, and I think you can do this in Google Chrome as well, but just to remind you, is that you do have access to in-private browsing from Edge as well. So if I click the three dots in the top corner, we can open a new in-private window. Now, I know this sounds a little bit dodgy. It doesn't record any of your history. It doesn't record anything that you're doing in this particular web browser. And I would say that if I'm doing anything on my PC, maybe I'm looking at my bank details or something that's quite sensitive, I will always open an in-private browser so that nothing is tracked, nothing is logged in history. So don't forget that you have that available to you within Microsoft Edge as well. And this browser works exactly the same as most other browsers. You can add new tabs at the top. You can add favorites simply by clicking the star icon at the top. Pretty straightforward and simple. Let's close that down. And that is pretty much all I have to run through with you. We've taken a bit short of this lesson, but those are the main things that you're going to find. As I said, there aren't humongous changes to this system, but there are some really important and key design changes here, and a few little quirky things that are definitely worth knowing about, like things like how to open a second window in File Explorer. Those things, as I said, took me a while to figure out, but those are the key things or the key differences between Windows 10 and Windows 11.
If you're not a subscriber, click down below to subscribe so you get notified about similar videos we upload. To see the full course that this video came from, click over there. And click over there to see more videos from Simon Says It.